Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious Podcast. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitchiously. Yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on today's episode of the Ambitchious Podcast, we have my soul sister, my good friend, and my Ambitchious Academy student, Kayla motherfucking Crawford.
Ooh, I love that.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I love
Does that sound
I'm
good?
going to start introducing myself like that.
I fucking love it. So I have known Kayla since 2019, and she joined my Ambitchious Academy last year, but she's actually been following me. We were talking before we came down to the podcast studio over my kitchen island, and I was like, how did you start in the Ambitchious movement? And then she started telling me, we're going to get to that in a second, and I thought it was very, very, very interesting. But what Kayla has achieved in the short amount of time that I've known her is, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass or kiss your ass or any of that kind of shit, but you know I'm going to. It's what I desire for all of my ambitious clients, people on the app, people that come to my events, to have happen to them and evolve to. So
Thank you.
You are the epitome. You're the epitome of ambitious.
Oh.
And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I think that your story is so phenomenal, and you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Nope.
You weren't like, your parents weren't like the high priest and like the medicine woman of your tribe.
Oh, hell no.
And you're here and you're doing the most. So I want to get into all that stuff. And I really, truly desire for this podcast to inspire women all across the globe that listen to this podcast, that if you can do it, anyone can do it.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with me, right? Like, we kind of came from very similar backgrounds.
Yes.
And I think people are like, oh, it must be nice to like live like you're living. And it's like, if you know where both of us came from, you wouldn't be saying that.
Right. Yep.
So tell the bitches out there about how you started like getting involved with Ambitchious. Like, tell the story that you were telling me,
Okay,
which I thought was so weird.
Funny. It's so weird. So I was a cheerleading coach, and I was just Facebook friends with all the cheer moms and stuff, because I would post, you know, my private lessons, be like, all right, if anyone wants one, like, message me on Facebook or whatever. So I was friends with your sister, and because she was a cheer mom at the gym I was working at the time, and I never watch live videos. Whenever a notification for a live video would come up, I would be like, oh,
Ew.
Why is this person doing that? And I wasn't even Facebook friends with you or anything. It was weird. So I got a notification that she commented on a video. It's like, I can't wait to listen to this podcast. So I was like, and at this time, I was just getting into podcasts. I'm like, oh, I was actually curious. And I didn't even know your sister at all. I don't think I've ever talked to her in my life. I was just
So
Facebook friends
funny.
with her.
Oh my gosh.
And
because Ava used to cheer at the
Yes.
place that you used to work at.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yes. So I go to the notification to watch the video, and I'm like, oh, who is this who's doing a podcast? And I just thought you were so funny, so relatable. I don't really remember everything you said on it, but
I'm sure
basically I was like,
I'm sure it was disgusting and dirty.
yeah, and I thought it was hilarious because I have a raunchy sense of humor.
I love it.
But yeah, I just went to your page. I probably friend requested you or something, and then whenever you released the first episode of Ambitchious, I was listening. So I've been an OG podcast listener
From the beginning.
Yes.
Oh, holy shit.
Yes.
Damn. Okay. So you started listening to the podcast, and then you came to a spirit day at my
Yes.
house in 2019. So you like actively listened for almost about a year.
Yes.
Before you were like, I'm going to do this thing.
Yes. So I sent the podcast to my friend Gina.
I love Gina. Hey, shout out to Gina Antonelli.
Yeah, I love you, girl. So she was listening to the podcast too, and we'd always be like, Katie motherfucker boy. We were just like obsessed with you and Matt. And you were having a spirit day, and I was like, we have to go to this. So she drove up from New Jersey to Massachusetts with me, and then once she got there, we had a little hangout, and then we drove up to New Hampshire.
I remember
to Katie
the spirit
Boyd's
day.
Misfit Club. We walk in, and Matt's teaching a class. And we're like, oh my God, it's Matt. We were
Fangirls.
Yeah, we were fangirling.
Don't say that to him because his head will get fucking bigger than it already is. It's already like too big to fit through the door. His bush and his head are very big.
Yeah, so we were.
Do you remember the Spirit Day though?
Yes.
Like, what do you? Okay, so you came to Spirit Day.
Mm-hmm.
You were already listening to the podcast, but when you came to Spirit Day with Gina, what do you think? Like, did something click for you to that day, or what did you like experience?
So I was working on myself, on my own. I had a spiritual awakening in 2017, literally.
So before Ambitchious.
Yeah. So I was open to these things before. If this was a couple of years before,
I wouldn't have. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't have listened to the podcast. I wouldn't have looked at that notification. Like everything. When you're ready, the teacher appears.
Absolutely.
So, I've been working on myself, and then all the things that I hear on the podcast, I was like, I need to meet this woman in person. I need to get some more information and learn more. I was ready to, dive in deeper.
Yes.
Because I was only doing You Are a Badass, self-help books.
Jensen Shero stuff. Yep.
Yeah, so, which is amazing. It was super helpful.
It's a great gateway into the bullshit.
Yes, it was the gateway drug.
Yes.
So I was like, I need more. I need to go to something, go to an event and meet more like-minded people.
Yes.
So...
Which is very scary for people, by the way.
Yes.
Because you're like, what if everyone thinks I'm weird? Like, da-da-da-da. Or what if they're all fucking weird?
Right.
Or what if, I die and I never come back? Because you don't know.
Right. And I kept putting it off. And then you had that Spirit Day. And I was like, Gina, let's go. And she was like, all right, I'm down. So we get there. I learned so much. I still have my notebook from it. I will never get rid of that notebook.
You do?
Yes. I'll send you all my notes.
Oh, please. I would love that.
But it's stuff you always talk about. And I know very deeply now. But when I first heard it, it was like... Mind-blowing.
You're like, how did I ever not know this?
The Ambitchious Abundance Affirmation. I wrote exactly what yours was down in my notebook. I have it. So I would...
And this is before my book, which actually teaches you how to do it. But I was teaching it just from my mouth. Orally, I was teaching you guys how to do it.
Yes. What? And I remember you sitting at the front of the room and we had our yoga mats or pillows or whatever. And I was just had my jaw open. I was like, oh my God, this lady in person is incredible. Your energy is just, I can't even describe it. It just feels so good to be around you.
Thank you.
So
not everyone thinks that, by the way, but I'm glad you do.
No, it's so true. And
well, because we have the same frequency.
Yes.
We're both not too far off from each other, where if someone was spinning at a lower frequency, being around people like us is very aggravating and abrasive to them, right?
Yeah.
Just like when we are around those type of people, you want to punch kittens,
right?
You're just like, ugh, I can't do this because it's a frequency,
right?
Right.
So I just fell in love with you even more.
Thank you.
And I got so much out of that.
Did we do death meditation?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yes.
Did that break your ass open a little bit?
Yeah. So that meditation really just, I was doing all the work that I knew at the time, and that just opened up a whole can of worms to shadow work and all that. And
yes.
I really looked at how I was living my life. And at this time I was 24 years old. I was pretty young. You
got to give it to yourself, because most people don't have these awakenings until they're in their 30s to even 40s.
Right.
So the fact that you were in your early 20s and you were already having a spiritual awakening, and you were listening to spirit saying, okay, I'm going through this thing. I think I need to take a step back and do something about it, where most people would just keep brushing it under the rug and hoping that it would go away.
Right. And that's what I did for my whole life, was push everything under the rug.
Oh, I know all about that.
And
Same.
Luckily, this didn't boil to the surface on its own, because everyone can push things down, push things down, but they're going to come to the surface eventually.
It ain't going to be ugly.
But with the work you gave me, I went in before I got to that,
yes,
dark
that
night
explosion.
of the soul.
Yep, exactly.
I've had a dark night of the soul after I met you too, but
I've had 100.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I got to, get to work on myself sooner than waiting to go into a deep depression or something awful to happen for me to wake up.
Yes.
So that really helped me. I started looking at my life, who I was before. I was always a very, inspirational person. I liked to inspire
you were coaching
people.
and motivating. Yes.
I like to work out. I was an elite athlete. I was a Division I athlete in college. I had a scholarship and all that stuff. So this was a little after college, and I was just trying to find myself. I was working jobs I didn't like.
Yep.
At this time, I just started dating my husband. So I kind of got past the shitty relationship
Yes,
thing,
thank
which
God.
yeah, which
I didn't.
was actually
I did it like almost into my 30s. So I was like, oh,
oh yeah, I'm very glad. That's actually what catapulted my spiritual awakening was a relationship I was on and off with for 5 years. So since I was 18.
So before your husband, you had
Yep.
this like wacky relationship.
Yeah, totally different person than my husband. Like it's crazy the difference when you look at the two people.
Yes.
But just energetically and all
So
that.
you think that relationship was which catalyzed like your kind of like spiritual awakening.
Yes, it was really weird. We were just hanging out one day. I was with my ex-boyfriend. He was still my boyfriend at the time. And you know that song, I wish you were a better man.
Yes. Yes, I do.
That song came on and
Yes,
I was
do.
like, yeah, this is like my life. And I just said that to him and I was like, I know I deserve better than you, but I didn't break up with him or anything.
You knew.
I said something.
He was on notice.
And I never had said anything like that before. And then we ended up breaking up. And then it was I started just like living up my life and doing things for me. I'm like, I'm going to focus on myself. I was just giving so much of myself to save this relationship for so long. And I was doing that all the time with friendships and whatever. And I was like, I'm doing something for me. I'm focusing on myself. And I did. And I started getting so happy. I was just addicted to this work. And that's actually what happened with Gina too. She has her own story. But so we bonded over that. We were college teammates.
So interesting.
She's a couple years older than me. So that's how we kind of came back together. And
where do you think that came from though? The whole like trying to always like save the person, fix the friendships, fix the relationship instead of like being like, you know what? I know that I deserve better than this. Have you done that work, that shadow work to figure that out?
So I was the parent
like
of
to
my
share?
parents.
You were the parent of your parents too?
Yep.
Isn't that so much fun?
Oh, it was a blast.
Amazing.
Let me tell you.
Sign me up for a second round.
Yeah. So I was the parent of my parents. They were just emotionally immature. I still have to deal with it. But now I've been setting up boundaries, which you've helped me a lot with.
Thank you.
So that was the people pleasing thing. Like I needed to help them to get love. You know, I needed to help them to receive what I needed.
And the love was conditional.
Right.
So they wouldn't love you the way that you desired to be loved unless you were like helping them with whatever they needed help with.
Exactly.
Refereeing their fights.
Exactly.
Making them feel better about themselves. Yep. Got it.
So, and I was the oldest child like you. So you get the brunt.
Oh, that's like, it's kind of a hard place to be.
It is.
You're like the fucking crash test dummy.
Oh yeah.
You're the guinea pig.
Oh yes.
And then like my sister was like, I remember one time I was fighting with my sister. She's like, I don't know why you're so mean to mom and dad. Like, I don't remember my childhood being like that. I was like, yeah, bitch, because I fucking sheltered you from it.
Right.
And I took the brunt of it. So you never had to feel that shit.
Exactly.
And she's like, fuck you. I'm
exactly.
like, no, bitch, this is the truth.
Yeah. The younger siblings, they'll never know.
Never.
I mean, they have their own shit too. But,
of course.
You know, the older sibling, that's a big role.
So I love how you did this shadow work over the last, couple of years that you've been doing all the ambitious stuff. And you can like say the reason why in my adult relationships that I was showing up this way was because I was parenting my parents and I was looking for love and all these different things. See, this is the shit that I'm like, when people do the real work, it like makes my fanny tingle because I'm just like, this is like such growth. Instead of being like, I'm just going to shove a crystal inside my vagina and I'm just going to do some baby witch shit. And then I'm just going to like go make some moon water and like put some lavender on my pillow and that's going to make it all go away.
Yeah, that's not what happens. Trust me.
It's the dark nights of the soul that actually wake you the fuck up and make you evolve.
It is. And now I'm kind of addicted to it. So I know when I need to dive in deeper.
Yes.
When I have subconscious beliefs coming up or certain triggers coming up in my life, I'm like, okay, there's something deep down in here and I'm going to figure out what it is so I can keep going.
Have you had anything like that lately happen that you'd like to share?
Yes.
I love hearing your stories. They're the best.
Yes. So me and my husband have been working on buying our first house. We just got our offer accepted a couple weeks ago. So that's very exciting.
Very.
But before that, a lot of things were coming up. I was having a lot of triggers that I couldn't be successful without anyone's help. That was basically the theme that I discovered.
So the theme was you can't be successful unless someone helps you?
Yes. So I needed assistance. I couldn't do anything on my own. which I really found deep down when I got through the work, was I feel inadequate.
And where does this come from?
So this came from a couple of different things, but what I remembered mostly was actually from high school. So it wasn't even deep in my childhood,
Okay.
which I have explored my childhood very deeply.
Yes.
But recently I've been going back to high school and college, which, wasn't that long ago for me. So I remembered in a inner child healing meditation
Yes.
that I was in Spanish class. I was in an honors Spanish class. I was very high achiever. I was always in honors or AP classes. I would
Yes.
never go to like the basic.
No. You weren't in the like the classes I was in where I had like a helmet on and I was just like screaming fuck in the middle of the room, eating my poop. Literally. I was not a good student.
Should have been.
It's funny. I was not a good student, but I was like the mayor of Munchkin City. You know what I mean? Like I was like popular, and I was like always like the one that was like, let's have fun. But I sucked at school because my belief as a child was like I wasn't smart enough.
I actually just had a conversation with my stepsister about that.
Really?
Yeah, she just realized that she like self-sabotaged because, and she's put in the work too. I'm very proud of her.
Kylie?
Lauren, her sister.
Oh yeah, I know her too. Okay, yeah. I love them both. Shout out.
So so back to the inadequacy. In my meditation, I went back to a Spanish class in high school, and everyone in my class was super smart. I was like smartest kids in the school. All of them were my friends. I think I had my boyfriend at the time in the class, and I was so nervous we had to go up in front of the class.
Oh, and you had to be like,
and speak in Spanish.
You were like in Bridesmaids, you're like, para vivar en casa, las sol, las escuelas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, I can't do this. I could write things down.
Totally.
But getting up in front of the class, and I wasn't even afraid to speak. Like, I'm such a motivational person. I'd be in front of my team all the time.
Right.
Like, let's go. Like, I didn't have any problem with being in front of people. And I was a performer. I did cheerleading and all that. But it was just, I was scared in front of all my peers to do this.
Because they were all so smart?
Because they were so smart. And I didn't feel like I was smart, which now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, okay, why didn't I feel like I was smart?
Yeah, but why were you in the class if you weren't smart?
Exactly. Ooh. But I wasn't thinking like that at the time. I was like, I'm like the lowest one in the class probably, but I didn't know what anyone else's grades were.
It might not even be true.
Right.
You could have been number one.
Right.
And not even known it.
So that's probably something else I need to go deeper.
Damn, I'm like, let's do this right now.
I know.
Okay, so let me backtrack for a second. So you went into this inner child healing meditation. Mm-hmm. The thing that came up for you, the feeling was inadequacy.
Yes.
It brought you back to this time in high school that you were in Spanish class. You were going to go give like an oral presentation and you were like, oh my God, I can't do this because I'm like the dumbest bitch here.
Right.
Which is none of that's true.
Right.
Okay. So then what happened? Did you fucking freeze?
Oh, I looked at my teacher. I wasn't crying or anything. And I was like, please, can I do this another time? Can I do this after school? Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And she just looked at me like, bitch, you got to do this.
Wow.
And I got up in front of the class and I froze. And I think I said a sentence. I really don't remember. I know I didn't finish it. And then I just kind of tapered off. And then I just sat back in my
You really were the girl from the Bridesmaids.
Yes. Literally.
Oh my God.
So that's when I was like, and then what I thought came true. I was like, I am dumb. I can't even do this.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
I am inadequate.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I went back to that. And then I did the meditation again that I was doing. And I went back and I was like, all right, how did I need my teacher to show up? Or how did I need to show up? So I could have went back and said, my teacher was like, okay, that's fine. We'll do it after class.
Right.
Like, whatever. But I went back and I was like, fuck it. I'm a badass bitch. I'm going to speak in Spanish in front of this class and I'm going to crush it. I'm going to get the highest grade in the class. So I did that in my meditation. So I went back and I changed what I did at the time.
I love this.
And I literally when I came out of it, I felt so good. I felt like I literally did that.
You healed that part of you.
Yes. I feel like I literally went back in time and fixed it and then came back.
This is some advanced Ambitchious shit. Like, this is pretty fucking advanced. So that inadequacy from like this time in high school was now showing up as you're buying your first home with your husband.
Yes,
like,
I was so triggered.
I'm a loser.
I'm like, who am I to have a house? My husband never lived in a house in his life. Like we both have been feeling like this too. So it wasn't just me. It was like I'm co-creating with my husband. You know?
That's your mastermind right there.
A lot of things kept coming up that were blocking us from even getting started in this process. And it wasn't anything to do with money. It was just, I don't know, because we're moving to a different state.
Yes.
So we needed, Steve to find a job out there to get pre-approved. So they knew we were working there. And then we needed an offer letter and no one to prove to the mortgage company, and we weren't getting, he's an electrician. So, they need someone now. That was why it was hard for him to get a job. So we couldn't look before we moved.
Wow.
Really. So it was just all these things coming up. And literally, I'm not even kidding. Right after I did that meditation, he got an offer letter from a company. So he kept getting jobs, but they weren't sending him the official offer letter.
This is magic.
Yeah. So this company was the perfect fit for him. Like everything he wanted, everything on his list. They sent an offer letter. We got pre-approved. And then there was, another block was coming up. All these houses that we liked, we're about to put an offer in and someone was taking it.
Of course.
And
it's the market right now. So fucking crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, we're never going to get a house. Like I'm not, other people like have the means to do this.
Did you start saying this out loud?
I think I kind of kept it to myself.
You were like, I'm just going to let
my
this
husband
simmer.
already had enough stress. He's the provider.
So in your mind, you were like, oh my God, if I was further ahead or I was this or I was that,
Yes.
I would be getting the house. This wouldn't be happening to me. So you were like starting to.
We're not ready to have a house. I'm not,
Ooh.
all this stuff kept coming up. And then I went back and I did some more healing with the inadequacy. And, I came out of it and we got a house.
What the fuck, dude?
And this has all been in the month of September. I've been so focused on working on this in the month of September because I was like, I need to heal this. I'm about to have a baby in December. So when we're recording this podcast, it's September.
Yes.
And I was like, I need to get rid of this before this baby comes. And I'm just like, have mom brain and
Totally.
I can't even function.
Right.
So,
wow. This just came through me from spirit when you were talking. I'm such a
I
weirdo.
love this.
Does your husband have an abundance affirmation?
No. And I try to get him into,
come on.
I try to get him into all of this stuff. And actually, when we were putting in the offer for this house, I was like, can we meditate, please? Like, can we meditate together? And I grabbed his hand and then he grabbed his hand. And he actually closed his eyes and was like, we're going to get this. We're going to get this. And he grabbed my dog's paw and he's like, come on.
Oh, no, we always do that with Pearl.
I love it.
No, animals are like the biggest manifestors
Yeah,
because remember we were having
so
the cold.
pure.
Yeah, they're so pure. They're like little conduits of like pure energy.
Yeah.
Oh my
he's
God,
like
it's
my
so
familiar.
funny. Yeah, she totally is. Pearl is like sucking on my freaking nipple on my knee
my
right now.
gosh,
Like,
I love it.
Okay, so Spirit just told me
Yes.
that Steve needs to do an ambitious. It doesn't have to be. He could be ambitious. He needs to do an abundance affirmation.
Yes.
And this is what Matt and I did for years together. And we still do it. We just don't do it as consistent because I just get up way too early. And then by the time that like he gets up, I'm like, peace out, motherfucker. I already did all my shit. Like,
oh, yeah.
have a
That's
good
how I
day.
am too.
Because I'm literally like you up at the crack of dawn. But for years, when Matt and I were like really manifesting the fuck out of things that we had never had before, every day we would like hold hands and the dog would literally be in between us. And I would say my abundance affirmation out loud. Then he would say his abundance affirmation out loud. And when I was saying my abundance affirmation, he was in his mind visualizing me achieving it. And then when he said his, I would visualize him, like how he would look, feel, be if he was achieving this thing.
And you witnessing it too, because you would obviously be by his side.
Yes.
Wow.
It's so powerful.
Yeah,
I know that this podcast is not me coaching you, but I'm just like, no, Spirit just told me this.
I love this.
This is what has to happen.
And I love getting all the information I can to work on myself.
I'm here for it, honey. No, but that's what Spirit told me, that you got to do that with
Okay.
him. Okay.
I'm going to let him know.
Because it's your mastermind. Like, you know how
It
Napoleon Hill
is.
talks about like when a man and a woman come together, they create a third mind.
Yes. Yes.
And Pearl's like also in there sometimes in the mix too.
She has to
Oh,
be.
she's like a meditation dog. She literally, when I meditate, she sits in my lap
My
and
dog does
it's
the
like the
same.
wildest thing. I'm like, this is so cool.
I love that my dog always comes over and he puts his head on me. He's like, yeah, let me get some vibes from you.
Oh, they feel it, dude. They're like little Reiki masters, I'm telling you. Okay, so this is huge, the inadequacy thing. Anything else that you've been like working on that is really interesting?
That's the biggest one right now. And just this happened when I was pregnant with my daughter too. I just have been trying to clear as much,
ancestral bullshit
shit, yes,
absolutely,
as I can. So I've been looking at my parents. Last time it was a lot with my mom and my grandmother and looking at kind of the feminine.
Yes.
And this time around, what's been coming up is my father's side. I've been spending a lot more time with my dad's dad.
Yes.
Which I'm not trying to, it's just happening.
Yeah.
And I've been starting to realize a lot of things. Like, I was trying to pry and ask my grandfather things because I'm like, he's getting old. I want to know about his life.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't tell
do it
anyone
now because all my
anything.
grandparents are gone, and I wish I had. I always say, like, I would give like 10 years of my life to have like one day with my grandmother,
Right?
just to like be like, tell me everything.
Yes.
You know,
And he won't tell me. And for last Father's Day, I bought him a journal. He just had the roughest life. He grew up literally on the streets of Boston by himself. He dropped out of high school, went to the military. His father signed off on him going when he was 16, I think.
Oh my God.
So he was like in Vietnam or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I asked him, and he was a Quincy police officer.
Wow.
So he had a lot of crazy experiences.
You think?
With that.
I'm sure.
So I was asking him all these questions, and he was like, "Stop prying. I don't like when people pry," and like yelled at me.
But that's the old school
Yes.
shit, right? That's the old school energy. Like,
No, he said, "Why are you grilling me?" I'm like, "How do you even know what that means?"
I'm done.
Yeah, he's like, "Why are you grilling me? I don't like when people grill me." And
He
I was
thinks
like,
he's like
I
in
wanna
an
know what
interrogation
happens.
room.
Like, I want to know my family's history.
Yeah, the lineage.
And he was like, and he's never like that. He's never snapped at me like
Isn't that
that.
interesting.
Yeah, he very much keeps to himself. So I started asking like my uncles and stuff if he's given them any information. And I've just been looking at my relationship with my own father and kind of trying to look through his lens of my grandfather being his father and my grandmother who's passed, and trying to, put some pieces together so I can
Yes.
look at myself.
This is so funny because when I was going through my hardcore spiritual awakening too, I did a lot of this work where, like, for example, like my dad, as you know, and I'm very open about this, he had a lot of drug and alcohol addiction and just a lot of like, I don't want to say failure because he wasn't a failure, but like just couldn't ever like get to the place where he should have been, right? There was always something. And I think back now and I say to myself, like, my grandfather had alcoholism. He had a huge job with Raytheon. He was never home, always in a boondoggle, like, playing golf, the old Mad Men days where they would just like smoke cigarettes and slap their fucking secretaries on the ass and like never come home for dinner or whatever. Right. And when they did, like my grandmother would be there with the slippers on the floor and the cocktail and the whole, it was like that, era. And then my dad was this incredible baseball player. And it's funny because, I didn't talk to my parents for a really long time. And now that I am again, I grill my parents all the time. And I ask them all these questions. And my dad said to me one day, his dad never came to his sports, never like watched any sports. And my dad actually signed a contract with the Kansas City Royals. He was that good at sports. He was in the Hall of Fame at his high school, like incredible. And went to college and then broke his collarbone and his career kind of went down after that. But my grandfather never fucking went to any of his games, dude.
That's so sad.
And never told my dad, like, I'm proud of you.
Oh, God.
And I think that a lot of my father's alcoholism and everything stems from like, can you imagine like
He probably felt like he wasn't good enough.
Never. So why even try?
Right.
Just be the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wow.
And then my father's brother died in a motorcycle accident when my uncle was 19, my father was 14. So it was just like my dad had been like doing drugs and drinking since he was like 14 years old when my uncle died. So it was just all these things. And then I'm like, well, no wonder why my fucking parents were like this.
Exactly.
And now I'm just like, I'm not, and I don't know if you feel like this about your parents. I would love to know, but like, I was so mad at them for so long. Like, come on, like you should have gave me a better fucking life and you should have been there and you should have been all these things. But it's like, I was asking from them what they couldn't give me.
Right.
And my life contract was I chose these people to not be able to give me this so that I can evolve and grow into the person I am today.
Right. Exactly.
Do you ever feel like that too? Like
yes.
when you've gone and done this work and you've looked at your lineage and like all the things that have gone on, you're like, no wonder why my dad shows up this way, or no wonder why my mom acts like this.
Yes. So one day I told when I was working on the stuff with my mom, I just told her I have all this trauma coming up. I can't even talk to you right now. And she she got it.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm so sorry about everything that's ever happened.
Wow.
But I was in a place of like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you? Yeah. But now I have more compassion for her because I look like we went down to visit her in Florida and I could see like my grandmother, you know, but aggravating my mom with some stuff. And I'm like, my mom never gave that to me though. My mom healed that. And she healed so much that I never received. And now my daughter doesn't have to receive it. And I don't have to heal from. So think about all the things I'm healing right now. My daughter is never going to have to heal from.
I have chills.
And, you know, I might have some shit I pass down to her because I'm human. And
Absolutely.
it happens. But think about my grandchild.
Oh my God.
You know, like think about my great grandchild.
I literally, my nipples are so hard right now.
Mine too.
I'm like, oh, because I love this kind of shit. Because it's like, this is not to be like a narcissist, but like, this is why I do what I do. To hear people like you say, like, this is who I was and where I came from. And now look at what I'm doing.
Yes.
Like, I think legacy is so important. I talk a lot about it in my book, as you know. And people like don't understand legacy. They're like, what's a fucking legacy? Like, I'm going to leave my family money or something when I die. And it's like, no, when I die, your great granddaughter isn't probably going to know Katie motherfucking Boyd, but she's not going to be fucked up because of something that I taught her great grandmother.
Exactly.
Like, that's fucking dope.
Yeah. And imagine all the people that came before us who actually healed things. So I used to look at it like, what the fuck? Why do I get all the bullshit? But think about all the bullshit my mom had.
Oh my God.
And my grandmother.
Same.
And my great grandmother.
Yep.
And all the things they healed so I didn't have to experience it.
That's huge.
And now I'm looking at my father's side and I have been lately like, what the fuck? Why are you acting like this?
Right.
But then I look back and it's like, okay, my grandfather is emotionally unavailable.
Yes.
Like he doesn't even want to talk about anything.
No.
And my dad, actually, I can have conversations with him, but I still feel like he's emotionally unavailable. That's something, but he's way more available than my grandfather.
And so on and so forth.
Exactly. Because I know my grandfather's father was like always gone. He was, you know.
See, isn't this crazy?
Yeah.
I wrote about in my book because at the time I was writing my book, I wasn't speaking to my mom and dad. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, obviously, you know, inspired Ambitchious because what she said to me when I was being bullied when I was a little girl.
Right.
And I wrote at the end of my book about how my grandmother came to America from Canada. And, you know, she was one of 12 children. They lived in a 1-bedroom house, which is still there, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So crazy. Yeah. In Canso, Nova Scotia, which is the eastern most city, town, or whatever in Canada. So it's actually when the Titanic was going down, that's where the SOS came into their cable
Oh,
room.
wow.
Yeah, it's like really crazy. Like poverty beyond measure. And my grandmother was going to Catholic school at the time, and that was the only school that they had. And it was a school like a room with all the grades were in one room. It was so freaking weird. And these nuns came to my grandmother and they're like, hey, there's these wealthy people in America that are looking for au pairs. Oh. And my grandmother was 16 and my grandmother was 18 and her sister Peggy Margaret was 16, and they had zero money. Like the nuns weren't like giving them money to like cross the border or whatever. And they were incredible vocalists. They were just good singers. And they literally sang from the moment they left Canso, Nova Scotia, at every bus stop, at every railroad station to get food and to get to the next stop.
Wow.
So you imagine like you're a 16 and 18-year-old young girl from another country and you like put a fucking little box on the floor and like sing music and get like a couple dollars here and there maybe to get like another train ticket to get to the next place. And you're going to another country, you don't even know the family that you're staying with, you don't know anything. And that's how they got to America.
Wow. And they're just so determined, and look at you. You're so determined.
But this is the shit that I'm talking about, because when you know where your ancestry came from and you're feeling weak, like I get scared all the time and things overwhelm me and I feel like crazy. And then I think of like, if my fucking 18-year-old grandmother can fucking tap dance and sing to get from here to there, I can fucking do anything.
Yeah, and think about what you were doing at 18.
Oh, I was like blowing random guys in the woods and just like drinking my parents' fucking alcohol.
Right, me too.
Yeah, I was just like, is that pot or is it like oregano? I don't know, I'll smoke it. That's what I was fucking doing.
Exactly.
And I was going to like underage clubs and, oh God, no, I was not running a household for a wealthy family in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy what they did. So I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the victim mentality, like, oh, poor me, my parents did this, my parents did that. But when you really, and it's okay to do that too.
Yeah.
But you really have to go deep and do the work, because then you can actually appreciate what your ancestors have done for you.
Absolutely.
And move forward and realize that you're, going to be someone else's ancestor.
And ancestors pass down trauma, but they also pass down greatness.
Exactly.
Don't get it twisted. Because I think what happens is, and I went through this when I was just new to my spiritual awakening, where I was like, everything is trauma and everything is bad and everything's this. And I'm like, and then I think of like the story with my grandmother singing to like get to this place so she could have a better life for her family and her future.
Right.
And
so you could have a better life.
I wouldn't even be here if she didn't have the balls that day to be like, I'm going to fucking America. And I don't know I don't even know who I'm going with or what I'm doing, but I don't even have money to get there, but I'm going to fucking do it.
Right.
Like, that's dope.
That's amazing.
Right?
So cool.
Oh my God. I love that
I never heard that story before.
Yeah, I wrote it. It's like in the last part of my book, it's like she was like you know how I do the Ambitchious in history?
Mm-hmm.
She was like,
oh, yes, yes.
end.
I do remember
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But I think you actually have brought up so many good points, just even in the short time that we've been talking about like how you do this work and you're thinking of like so far back in the past and so far ahead in the future. And you're really thinking about the big picture. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing this work for a really long time and a coach for years. And I've never heard anyone really articulate it in this way. So thank you for doing that for me and also all the listeners from all across the globe. Like that, I appreciate the shit out of that.
That's why I'm here.
Oh God. Like that was like, I need to take a second with that. I'm going to sit with that tonight. So since you've been doing like all of your Ambitchious stuff, what do you think, since you've been, working with me and after your spirit day and joining Ambitchious Academy and just being in the community, what do you think have been the biggest things that have helped you the most? Like, is it your morning rituals? Is it like your non-negotiables? Like, what is it?
So before I joined Ambitchious Academy, just listening to your podcast, I learned to not look at my phone in the morning, do my habituals, do something for myself before I started my day.
Right.
And I started doing that very intensely. Like I'm a very coachable person.
I am too, by the way.
Yeah. So
I'm very coachable.
When you tell me to do something, I'm fucking doing it.
When people are resistant to being coached, I'm like, why are you here trying to have me coach you?
Exactly.
You're literally a fucking dinkleberry on my ass here. Get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
So annoying.
Because I want to be the best at whatever I do.
Same.
And the best in my life. And so if you're telling me to do something and you have an amazing life, I'm going to fucking do it.
Right. Right.
So I started listening to your podcast and doing all of those things. And this is in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And my life leveled up so much. I did some things people were like, what the fuck? So I had a very safe office job.
Okay.
And I was getting paid very well.
Yep.
And I liked it for the most part, but I was like, this isn't what I want to do.
This isn't like you're forever.
Yeah. And I was seeing a mentor to try to, climb the ladder. I was with a construction company. I started in accounts payable. Then I worked my way up. I started learning from my boss. He was amazing. He was such a good mentor for me. I had to be a cost engineer on these large projects.
Right.
And I was mentoring with a project manager, like driving the job sites, because I was like, all right, this is how I make more money. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I don't want to do this. And the guy was like, isn't this amazing? And he was so passionate about it, which was, it kind of started to make me be like, wow, it is so amazing. But I really took a good look at myself and I was like, I'm not fucking doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to run
this is not my long haul
construction site.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I cannot imagine. So at the time I was doing private lessons at the cheerleading gym still. And I had a lot of people inquiring. I just didn't have the time. And I was like, I could probably, and you just inspired me with, everything you do and just living your life ambitiously and, doing things for yourself. I was like, I'm going to start working and doing something that I actually like. And I love doing this. I love going to my private lessons after work, even when I'm exhausted. I would stay there all night. I would
light you up.
Yeah, I would get as much in as I could. And so I was like, I talked to the owners of the gym and I was like, how can I work here full time and make what I make right now?
Yes.
And they helped me like figure out a plan. They're like, we can't, give you the salary that you're getting right now. But if you work X amount, we'll give you this salary and then you can make up for it with private lessons.
Yep.
And my income went through the freaking roof. I've never made so much money. And everyone I told that I was quitting this job to coach cheerleading,
They thought you were crazy.
They're like,
what are you
giving me
doing?
these faces and whatever. And I was like,
it's so irresponsible.
And it still made me, second guess myself. But I was like, fuck it. Let's go for it.
I always say, like, if someone acts like that to you, think about, would you trade your life for their life? And if the answer is no, don't listen to them.
And you know what? Now that you say that, I definitely thought that too, because you would say it all the time, and that's what pushed me through. And I was just like living my best life, coaching.
Awesome.
I had, I was going to CrossFit in the morning. I had the body of my dreams. Like, I was doing everything. I would wake up. I had time to journal and lay on my couch and like the windows open and light some, incense and just like get into it.
Yep.
And then I go to CrossFit and I get a nice workout in. I was looking all hot. Then I go coach cheerleading and make a ton of money. And then I come home to my amazing, who's my husband now, my boyfriend at the time. And, just like,
and you know what? When you took the leap and you were like, I'm going to leave this safety, this comfortableness that, like, you could still be there. You could still be working your way up the ladder. You could still be making more money. You could still be doing all that stuff. But I would hate for you to have stayed in that energy, because I always say, like, I think that hell is meeting the person that you could have been if only, like, you tried, or you busted out of a comfort zone, or you like took the leap of faith. And you took the leap of faith, and that is why the universe rewarded you.
Exactly. And I was literally living my best life.
Yeah.
Like, I look back at pictures from that time and I was like, I look so fucking good. I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was living in an amazing apartment that I always dreamed of. And then me and my husband ended up doing a move to Colorado. So something I never would have done. I left everything I've ever known. And when we moved there, I had a huge spiritual awakening, because I was really away from everything. And I was alone.
There was no distractions.
Yes. It was just me and my husband.
Yes.
And then COVID happened.
Oh, God.
So I was really in there. And, I kind of got back into working a job just to work a job.
Yep. Just to like pay the bills, make the money, whatever. Yep.
And
sometimes that happens, when you have like this spiritual uptick, and then like, life kind of shakes up your snow globe, and then it's almost like you go revert back to the old ways. Safety. But I always tell people, it's almost 99.9% of the time, it's like I always say, the arrow has to be pulled back to be shot forth, right? So sometimes you have to revisit the old yucky, abrasive energy to be like, whoa, like this is not who I am anymore.
Exactly. And that's what happened. So we got married. I got pregnant right away. I found out I was pregnant 2 days after we got married. I was like, shit, my life is changing really fast.
real quick.
And, I just told myself, I'm never working for another person again.
Good for you.
I'm never working for another person again.
We can't.
No.
Some people can like have a I cannot fucking do it.
No.
I would be fired within 24 hours.
Exactly.
I would be like, I am a HR nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was working at this job, and I was just kind of like, I was just fucking around, really. Like, I was doing the bare minimum. I was like,
You were quietly quitting.
About this yeah, I was quietly.
You were quietly quitting.
I was like, I don't give a shit about this company. Like, I'm just gonna do the bare minimum.
Yep.
Like, I'm just trying to collect a paycheck.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, this isn't me. And not that, like, it was a big pharmaceutical company that I started working for, and I was like, I don't really give a fuck about them.
Right.
And
fuck them.
I don't really care that I'm underworking.
Suck a dick. Suck a dick, pharmaceutical companies. Yes.
So I was like, I'm never working for anyone again. And then I started so I didn't go back to work after my daughter was born.
Yes.
And my husband's like, we'll figure it out. Like,
don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. I'll provide for you guys. I'll figure it out. If I need to work extra, I'll work. And then all this lack mindset came up, because I was used to having all of this money from both of us working. And I was like, okay, maybe if I just get a job, and I kept getting messages from recruiters with all this sexy salary that I was like, ooh, that's enticing. And I get to work from home. So like, I can still take care of my daughter.
Yes.
All of these tests. So the universe tests you when you're breaking through a subconscious block like that.
Yes.
And I kept getting these tests, and I almost would fail. And I remember one day I wrote in the Ambitchious Academy group chat, I was like, I will never work for anyone again.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that.
And I was like, all right, now people know. So if I start working for someone
You're on
else,
notice.
yeah.
We're gonna fuck you up because that's what we do in Ambitchious. When someone says something and they go against what they say, we fuck them up.
Oh yeah.
We go in and we say no, 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 no.
Yep.
It's so funny that you're saying this because I do a lot of business coaching, and so many of my girls in the last like couple months are just like, I just maybe I should just get a job. Like maybe I should just get a job. And I'm like, dude, if you have a plan B, it's gonna distract you from plan A. Every fucking time. And like you just said it, when the universe is setting you those tests, you got to pass them. It's like playing, I mean, this is like, I'm way too old, but like Super Mario Brothers, right? Like you start at level 1, it's like super easy. Then you get to level 2, and then it keeps going up and up and up and up. And the things get harder, and like the fucking challenges get harder, and they get crazier. But like at the end, I always say like, you got to rescue the princess, and the princess isn't out there. The princess is you.
Yes.
So you have to play the fucking game.
Exactly.
And you have to fucking roll with the punches, and you cannot get fucking distracted. Like I always say, burn your fucking boats. Like anytime you have like, well, like if this doesn't work out, then I'll just go back to that.
Exactly.
Like, it's like literally the most low vibey shit ever. And everyone that I've ever coached in my life, and there's plenty of people that do this, it's just the fucking saddest shit to watch.
Yeah, because you're self-sabotaging.
Oh my God. And you become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Like fuck that shit.
I remember getting a taste of me passing a test, and it was when I first had my spiritual awakening, and me and that boy broke up.
Oh yeah.
And I was living my best life. Like I was so happy and just, doing me. And then he came back a couple months later, and, usually he would come back and I would take him back and we'd go back in the loop. And I actually like went back out with him. I didn't like officially get back together with him, but like we hung out, like went to the beach or something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I was like literally with him. I was like, I need to go home. And I was like, I'm done. And he was like making all the promises I always wanted to promise me to like reel me back in. And I was like, I'm fucking done. And then right after that, my life like catapulted.
Yep.
Because the universe was like, thank Christ this bitch finally learned this.
Absolutely it did. 100%. Same thing with Matt. Like I had a string of like really fucked up relationships before Matt. And I finally got to the place where I was just like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to work on my shit. I don't give a fuck if I meet anyone. I'm just going to like become hotter and richer and smarter and better, blah, blah, blah. And when I got myself to that place where I didn't fucking need anyone, and I was so sovereign and so autonomous, and I was so fucking dangerous that I was just like killing the game.
Yes.
That's when Matt came.
Yep. That's when Steve came.
The universe was like, isn't this a cute little treat? Here you go. Like, congratulations, you passed the test. And it's the same thing with Steve.
Yep.
That's so
Same
crazy.
thing that happened. And it's funny because you always talk about when you first met Matt, you're like, whatever, I'll just like go out with him. And I felt like that was Steve.
It was so whatever.
Yeah, I was like, I almost canceled our date. I was like,
me too.
Oh, we have mutual friends. Like, I don't want this to be awkward. Like, this isn't going to work. This probably won't work out. Like, it always doesn't. And then, like, I just evolved into what it is today. And I'm so grateful.
Funny.
I stopped saying yes to the freaking, to not getting any human decency from a man.
And a bunch of fuckboys.
And I started, what we were talking about before on my podcast was I started, believing that there's actually a good guy out there.
Amen.
That, and I was like, and I kept getting tastes of them.
Like they would be good, but like there's always these two things.
Like, I'm like, you like need too much affection, and I'm not like that. So,
God, I hate affection. Don't touch me.
Yeah,
like Matt hugs me, and I'm like, what do I do in my arms?
Right.
And his love language is physical touch.
Yes, Steve's too.
Is yours acts of service?
His is physical touch and acts of service, and mine's words of affirmation and quality time.
Oh my God.
So we're like all opposites.
Mine is acts of service. And like I always, on Instagram, I always put like female porn, like with Matt's like cleaning something.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that.
Oh, my pussy's so wet. I don't give a shit. You don't have to tell me I'm good. You don't even have to spend time with me. Just go and clean that mirror that I asked you to clean, like when I asked you to do it. And I am like juicy as the day is long. Like but Matt wants to hug and cuddle. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate, because I didn't get a lot of physical touch when I was a kid.
Same. So it's very.
We're like those Russian orphans that just cry themselves to sleep and they don't cry anymore. Do you know about this?
Yes.
We cried and then no one came to pick us up, so and we were just like, you know what? We'll just rock ourselves to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, but I know that's so fucking weird that your husband's like that too.
Yeah, and I go up to him. It's so funny because we'll be driving in the car and I'll just like slap my hand on his thigh, and he's like, "Yeah,
that's not doing it for me."
I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, he knows I'm trying. I like grab his like hand awkward. And he's like, okay.
Dude, Matt always tries to hold my hand while I'm driving in the car. And I literally like shake it. I'm like loose. I'm like, I can't steer the steering wheel. That's so, we are such freaks. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that's the best thing you said. Not that it was the best thing ever, but like, I want women to understand that if you think that every guy is a fuckboy, if you think there's no good guys out there, if you think everyone's just like Jeffrey Dahmer and they're trying to fucking like put shit in your drink, then you know what? That's what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, that's what you're going to get. And guess what? I used to think like that. And guess what I got? A bunch of freaking assholes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Once I changed my mindset, I actually went on some dates with some really great guys.
Yeah.
They just weren't for me.
Right.
And then I found Steve and I was like, okay.
When I first started dating Matt, though, I thought he was like fake.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what's wrong with you, motherfucker? Like, are you fucked up? Yeah. Like, I was always like, he's going to like, he's an axe murderer, or he's like a pedo, or like he's gonna fucking skin me and wear me like last year's Versace. Like something is wrong.
Right.
And then when nothing was wrong, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And then you start a fight with them and you're like, oh fuck you.
I would start a fight with him just to feel something.
Yeah, to feel.
Because I was so, I don't know if you ever had this feeling too, but like chaos is like my number one baseline.
Oh yeah.
And like just always fighting and drama. And so when I never had that with Matt, I was like, something's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
So I would, my whole thing is, I don't know if you're like this, but you like have fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I'm done and I can't handle it anymore, I'll fucking peace out on you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I would literally get in a fight with Matt and I'm like, I'm fucking out of here. And I would like pack a bag and I would like go to the city and I would stay at the Four Seasons for like 5 days and just like drink all the fucking mini bar and just like get massages and just be like, and I wouldn't answer my phone and whatever. And I would be like, he'll never find me. But then I was like using our joint credit card. So he's like, oh, Four Seasons in Boston. Like, and he would like come knock on my door and I'd be like, leave me alone. And I was like, oh my God, this is what my parents would do.
Yep.
And I didn't realize it until I met my husband and I started still doing this shit, which I would just start a fucking war because that's all I knew.
Yep.
I didn't know how to be comfortable just being. And joy was like not normal for me. And like these feelings were way too fucking intense. Like I can't live like this.
Exactly.
And that went on for, I mean, obviously, you've listened to my podcast, Our Biggest Brawls.
Yes, that was a good one.
We don't fight like that anymore. We actually now we've got to the point where we have like safe words because like we know when shit's going to escalate. And like, I'll be like, pull my finger. And he says like fucking like marigold or some shit like that. Because I'm like, I'm going to fucking leave or you're going to fucking do. He doesn't. Matt's so fucking good. I can't even talk shit about him, even though I love to talk shit about him. But it's fucked up when your baseline is trauma, when your baseline is chaos, and then you don't receive that from your partner. That is a very foreign, alien energy.
Yeah, and you try to go back to your old conditioning.
Yes.
So I would do that all the time, and Steve's just like, all right. Like, he literally would just like, be like, okay. And I'm like, what do you mean, okay? Like, let's fucking fight. Like, let's go.
Let's fucking beat the shit out of each other. I want to fucking fight you.
Yeah, he was always just like that. And I was like, and then he would start to, he's like, I'm not talking to you when you're like being a psycho.
Yeah.
So then I didn't like that. So I actually was like, okay, I'm going to work on myself. Like, how is he able to just like walk away from me when I'm upset?
Matt
so
too.
I started
Matt
doing,
too.
I found, I don't know, I heard it somewhere. And it's like, wait 24 hours before, when something aggravates you, wait 24 hours. And if it's still bothering you, bring it up again.
It's a good thumb. That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. I started doing that. And then the next day would come and I'd be like, what was I mad about?
Don't even remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't even remember.
It's like the old school, like,
and now
don't go to
it.
like, just, that they say don't go to sleep angry.
Yes.
I actually don't agree with that.
Right.
I say go to sleep angry. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, I don't even remember what we were fighting about.
Yeah, and you didn't have to go through all the ridiculous,
Oh, because I would keep him up till 4 a.m. being like, and he would be like, I just need to fucking sleep. I have to work tomorrow. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're going to fucking go into the ring with me, motherfucker. I was a scary bitch.
No, exactly.
I still am a little scary,
I would
but
do
not
that
like
too.
that.
And Steve would just be like, okay, I'm going to bed.
Because that's what my mother would do to my father. Yep. My father would literally be like, Terry, shut the fuck up. And she would be like a little pit bull, like, until all fucking hours of the night. But that's how we grew up.
Exactly.
That's what we thought. Like, I always thought, like, oh, you just beat the fuck out of each other and call each other names. And then, like, the next day, like, you act like nothing's happened. Oh, that's normal.
Right. Right. And I was used to the yelling and screaming, and I had it in all my past relationships.
Yes.
And, you know, it like made me feel alive in some weird, fucked up, twisted way.
Trauma's very,
Oh, yeah.
It just gets you going.
Oh, yeah.
Just gets you going.
So fun. But yeah, doing the 24-hour thing, that helped me so much. And now and then the time started getting shorter and shorter when I just forget about it.
Yeah.
And now like, something happens 15 minutes later,
you're over it.
I'm over it.
Isn't that so fucking
and now,
awesome?
Like, we literally never fight.
What do you think has been the hardest stuff that you've had to go through since you've started like your ambitious journey?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. The hardest stuff I had to go through was, you know, actually looking at my own shit instead of blaming other people.
Ooh.
So, you know, it's easy to be like, you know, I cut off a lot of friends. I, you know, left jobs. I've, you know, done all of that stuff. And I'm like, well, this friend like always wants to do this, so I'm not going to be friends with them anymore, which is valid. But also, I had some fucked up shit that made us become friends in the first place.
Ooh, trauma bonding is a big thing, you know.
Yes.
And I think of my past relationships with certain friends, and we bonded over trauma, or we bonded during times of our lives where we were both going through something that was similar. And anytime that you trauma bond with a friend, the relationship will never be for your highest, greatest good in the future.
Oh, I've noticed that recently a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then it's almost like, and I'm sure you can attest to this, like I had just had my 20-year high school reunion like 2 years ago, right before COVID. And everyone's still talking about like the keg stand that they did in like,
Oh my God.
in 10th grade. It's this fucking same thing when you trauma bond with someone. It becomes a loop. It's like all you talk about, all you like have in common. And you forget like that friendship is supposed to be way more than just like trauma.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've noticed that too. And a lot of the friends I had that would just talk about high school stuff, I was like, yeah, I'm fucking done. So we had a group chat.
I'm fucking done.
We had a group chat, me and this group of girls I grew up with. I was from small town, whatever. And they're always, so this couple got engaged. They've been together for like 6 years and we grew up with them. They didn't always date. They came together like after high school or whatever. And they're like, they got engaged. What the fuck? And it's like, they've been together for like 6 years. Like, why are you like...
And why are you hating?
Yeah, and like, you don't even fucking know them. And I was like, I actually like these people. And I would always be sticking up for these random freaking people. Or like
a lot of work.
Someone's getting pregnant and they're like, oh, this bitch is pregnant. And I'm like, good for her. She's going to be an awesome mom. Like, I was always sticking up for them.
Oh,
and then,
that's a lot of fucking work, bitch.
Yeah, and I was like getting so fucking fed up. And then they were talking about money issues or something. And I brought up, you were just talking about Dave Ramsey on your podcast.
Love me some Dave.
And I brought him up to them. I'm like, you guys should like look into this, like to help you get out of this rut or whatever, like helping. And then they were just like all rude back to me. And I screenshotted it, meant to send it to Steve, and I sent it back to them.
I've done that before. It's so fucking horrifying.
But it wasn't even like a bad thing. Like it wasn't like, I just sent them like Dave Ramsey and then they were all just like being annoying. And I sent it back and like, I bet you didn't mean to send that back to me. And I'm like, yeah, obviously fucking not. But I never answered again.
I love you.
I never
you were
answered
like,
again.
We're done, bitch.
And then they kept talking in the thing and for like a couple of weeks. And then they eventually, started their own thing.
So you were just like, I'm done.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. If I'm going to talk shit about people, I don't want to be their friend. You know what I mean? So it's like...
And then you're going to say, why are you talking shit about someone in the first place?
Exactly.
Like, unless I have friends where I talk shit about people, but it's more like I say to them, hey, I need to vent right now to move this energy. Will you hold space for me? I'm actually not looking for any advice.
Right.
I just want you to hear me.
Right.
Like Kim and I do that to each other all the time. Like it's a safe place. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then I move on.
Yeah. And it's not like you're just trying to move that energy, but it's like when it's all the time.
Oh,
and I was always
so
talking
low
to Steve,
vibe, dude.
like, I can't fucking do this. And so that's why I was trying to send it to him. And I was like, all right, if I'm not doing this.
Do you know that God did that to you on purpose?
Oh, yeah.
God was like,
that was the
okay,
best fucking
Kayla,
thing.
this is it. You're going to send this fucking shit to these bitches and you're going to embarrass yourself and they're going to not want to talk to you anymore.
Exactly.
Like, it was like the trash took itself out.
Exactly. And I was like, I wasn't even upset about it. And I truly from the bottom of my heart wish them all the best and like hope they,
right, live their best lives.
I love them, but it's like I can't keep doing this to myself. Like I have bigger shit to do.
Well, they say like you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
no thank you. I don't want to be like them. I appreciate you. You can love them, but you cannot
Exactly.
stay in that energy.
And literally every friend I've ever had to cut off or whatever, I wish them the best. It's not like I'm like, I fucking hate them.
Right.
Even relationships from my past too. And this is what all the healing works about, like people who have done me wrong in relationships.
Yeah.
Like I look back at them, I'm like, thank you for putting me through that because
thank you so much.
It helped me realize like I was so naive for so long.
Yep.
And that
you had dumb bitch syndrome.
Exactly.
And they were like, oh, I'm gonna like do something so horrible to you that it jars you to the point where you wake the fuck up and you don't make this mistake anymore. So you know how I always say, like, you got to do the work, the real work. That's the fucking real work. It's like the shit that you're like, I just lost my 5 best friends, but I know that on the other side of that is going to be like this new peer group that's going to come in that's going to help me even go to the next level.
Oh my God, yeah. And my friends today are literally the best.
Right. And look at the people that you surround yourself with, like even in Ambitchious Academy, with me, with all these people, like everybody there is trying, even if they're not like on a certain level that we're like on.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not saying we're better than anybody or whatever,
Right.
but I'm saying like maybe we're a little bit more evolved, like spiritually or emotionally or whatever. Everyone is trying to do better.
Exactly.
No one's there to like pull their pud. They're actually like, hey, I'm doing this because I desire to have more, to experience more, to be a better version of myself.
Exactly.
And
I feel
it
like
doesn't sound like your friends were doing that.
No self-awareness. So that's the thing. If you have self-awareness and you're not in victim mentality, like I can
roll with you.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But if you're always blaming someone else, if you're just like talking shit about people just to talk shit about people, like that's a totally different story. Like if you have an altercation with someone in your life and you need to vent about it, that's different.
Yes.
Okay. But if you're just talking shit just to talk shit, get the fuck out of my
No,
life.
I 100%
You know what I
agree.
mean?
And the way, I don't know how this was with you growing up, but I grew up in a gossip household.
Yeah.
So
Judgmental.
So my mom would be on the phone with a neighbor and they'd be like, oh my God, she, you know, and I just didn't know any better. So like, I just like kind of just parroted what I grew up with.
Exactly.
And then when I started gossiping about people, like as I got over, into my spiritual awakening, it started feeling so uncomfortable.
Oh, it feels so gross.
It's like in your gut.
Yeah, it feels so gross. I was actually saying something about someone to Steve the other day, and I just felt so gross after. And I was like, I take that back. Like, I don't even know why I started talking about them.
Well, because it's leftover programming.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not perfect. I still do that. I still gossip, but I catch myself, and I'm like, you know what? They're a good person. They're doing the best. I take that back, and I can feel it in my literally in my chest and my stomach.
I always say like we have to accept that everyone is at their own level of consciousness.
Exactly.
So like if someone hurt me or fucked me over or gossiped about me and it got back to me, like I can't be like hateful or angry towards them. It's like that's where they are in their evolution. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Exactly.
It's not good or bad. Like, let's all move on with our lives. Because if we sit in it too long, it just becomes a distraction. And then we're no better than anyone else.
Exactly.
You know? I love the victimhood stuff. That's such a that's a huge epiphany.
Yeah.
Like a massive epiphany. So, okay. So since all the things that we've talked about, what are you doing now with your life? Tell everybody about all the things in your life. So you already have a daughter.
Yeah. So I started.
You were pregnant you were pregnant.
So I was doing book club.
Yes, that's right, book club.
For the Ambitchious.
Yes.
For your book, I was doing book club, and I was literally, all I wanted was to have a natural birth, and I
remember
whatever, and my daughter had a situation where she wasn't growing, my placenta wasn't giving her oxygen, and I had to get induced, and it was the end of the world to me. I was like so scared.
I was so sad. Like when you told me like they're inducing me, and I was like, can't we do something else? Like,
yes.
Oh my God, like I'm a fucking like, I'm a doctor.
No, you were so helpful, and everyone was so I'm gonna cry thinking about it because everyone was
I knew
so
that you wanted that. So it was like your desire so much to have like this naturalist, like spiritual birth, And
I still ended up.
You did have it though.
I was induced, and I did it without pain medication. And I had like the best oxytocin experience. Who knows if it could have been better? We'll see. I'm pregnant with my second one right now, but I was in book club, and I told you guys about that, and you came through, and you were talking to me and held so much space for me. And all the women in Ambitchious messaged me. I had so many messages of so many women just supporting me, and like I didn't have like friends that did that. I'm like getting emotional.
No, it's
because
dude, it's the real
it was
deal.
like these women who have never met me in person or anything.
And some of them don't even live near us. They live like fucking Sweden, Dubai, Australia. You're like, okay.
And they would check up on me, and even after I had the baby, they kept checking up on me. So that was amazing. But anyway, so what I'm up to now is, so I had her in April, and then in December, I signed up for Ambitchious Academy. So I've been doing that most of my time as a first-time mom.
Yeah. And
I've been working through a lot. I did, fasting and keto, and I started, doing all these practices that you talked about because, I like being coached. So I just do the work.
Same.
And I've just leveled up so much. And then what really, really stuck with me was when we talked about the last 6 months of the year. And you were like, think about all the times, you had a New Year's resolution and you never fucking did it. And now it's the next New Year and you still haven't done that thing. And it's been 5 years and you still haven't done that thing. And you keep saying you want to do it. It's like, how about you just fucking do it? And that really resonated with me. And I've heard it a million times. But at this time,
you were ready to receive it.
I was ready to receive it.
Yep.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Absolutely.
So I've been wanting to start a podcast forever, for years. And
Isn't
I
that
never.
funny?
Yeah. And I didn't know what I wanted to be on. But since I was on my motherhood journey and I just see all this like negative motherhood talk and all this, mummy wine culture. And I'm like, it makes me so sad because I've been doing my practices that I've been doing since before I became a mother. And then, when she was first born and she was waking up every 2 hours, I kind of lost sight of that. And once I started implementing them back into my life when she was about 4 or 5 months old, I became a better mother. I was like, everyone needs to be doing this. And I need to talk about it. I need to tell other people about this and inspire moms because, like I said before, I've always been a leader. I've always been, someone who inspires people and motivates people.
And that's in you. So you can't just turn that off.
Right.
It'll hurt you.
No, I need
on an
to
energetic
do it.
level.
And I wasn't coaching anymore because I realized like I love doing stuff like that, motivating people and everything. And I was like, okay, like this time is kind of past. I was coaching a little bit after I had her just to make a few bucks, but I was like, I don't want to do this right now. But I was missing, that motivation and inspiration and doing that because it's just my nature.
Right. It's in you.
And so I started my podcast. I was in June. I think even before that, I was recording things. I just wasn't posting them. And then I was like, fuck it. I just got to put it out there imperfectly. I don't even care what it sounds like. I didn't even listen to it.
Fuck it.
Listen back. I just posted it.
Yeah.
And what I've received back is amazing. Like I can't.
People love your podcast. Tell everybody the name of your podcast.
It's called Mindset Mama.
I love it. And so you talk to your listeners are moms.
Yes.
Who are trying to be the best versions of themselves.
Exactly. So I basically come on and provide tools to help you live your best life because when you are the highest version of yourself, you can be a better wife, mother, sister, friend, everything.
All the above.
And I believe that everyone, especially mothers, deserve to, be the highest version of themselves because we're raising the next generation.
Absolutely.
And like we were talking about earlier, like ancestral trauma and healing. So your kids don't inherit what you did.
Right.
It's so important. Like, I feel like this is the most important work there is.
This is 100%. This is literally you're doing God's work.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So what is next for you? What's your next plan of action? Do you have something in mind?
Yes. So
let's just put that out into the universe.
Yes, let's put it out there.
I love it.
So I can listen back on this and be like, wow, look how far I've come. Because I know I'm going to achieve what I desire.
1,000,000%.
So I'm having this baby in December and I'm just planning on being present with that for the beginning stages. And then I really want to make this into a business and start coaching people one-on-one.
Yes.
And,
I just got chills.
And, just changing people's lives and helping people because that's always been my purpose. I've always known that. And that's why I liked coaching so much because I liked helping the young girls, gain confidence.
Yes.
But now that I've evolved, I don't really relate to them as much anymore. Now I'm a mother and I relate to mothers more. And, you know, maybe one day I'll evolve into like a granny helper.
Oh my God, I love that for you.
But, you know, like I just go with the flow and whatever.
Mindset granny.
Yeah, mindset grannies.
I love it. Oh my God, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I've told you from day one, like you have this incredible God-given gift. And if you weren't to like turn this into a business, I would say I'm going to fuck you up.
I know you would.
Because, you know, like I really truly believe that anyone who is showing up for the world and helping evolve the world, no matter if it's on a very small level or a large scale level, everyone deserves to have the money that goes in reciprocation to what you give.
Exactly.
You know, so I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're like greedy and you're like all about money. And it's like, I give so fucking much. I mean, you know, you're in Ambitchious Academy. Like people say to me like, dude, do you ever fucking sleep? Like, do you ever fucking stop? Like,
oh yeah, I feel like you're always doing something.
I just go because I know I only have this like very small, finite, you know, time on this earth. It's like I want to fucking do everything, you know, and I want to leave a legacy. And I think that you also feel that way. So,
yes.
Well, we will all support you in that business when you are ready. Let's have this baby though first.
Yeah, I need to integrate a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, I already like in my mind, I already am like planning your whole business model.
Perfect.
I'm like
because I was just talking before that. I'm like, how do I, you know, get some business coaching?
Like I always say, like stand on the shoulders of giants. So it's like, what I love about you too is like, you have never wanted to like be me. You've always been inspired by like, hey, she has a very similar background than me. She, you know, we're both mass holes. We both had like a very similar upbringing. We both come from like the same area in Massachusetts, which has its own vibrational frequency. So like we had that whole conversation before, you know, before we started on the podcast today. So it's like, you look at my life and tell me if I'm to fuck off if I'm, you know, speaking out of turn. But I think you look at my life and you're like, hey, she's like similar to me. I'm older than you, but like if she can do it, I can fucking do it too.
Yes.
Like there's nothing different between you and me. I'm just a little bit older and I've had like more time to like create and like put myself out there. Right. So you've never wanted to be Katie Boyd. You've always just wanted to learn the tools that I use to get myself to that place. And that's why people like you will always do really well, you know, and the people that like want to be like, I want to be you, they never can fucking do the shit because they're trying to recreate something that is not recreatable because it's my fucking life contract.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I look at you and I see how you show up every day and I want to show up like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know I don't right now. So I actually think of you a lot when I'm, you know, coming on my podcast or I did my first live the other day. I told you about that. And I was like, you know what? Katie would say, fuck it. She doesn't like, she has her hair up in a wet bun. And she went on and she just gave so much service and helped so many people just like after her shower in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
After I scrubbed my vajayjay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go on all this live. My pussy's clean.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to show up like that.
And you know what? Like people will be like, how do you do it? And I was like, I don't know. It's like something in me that's like, I hate to be like, it's divine, but it's like literally God works through me. Like God's like, all right, bitch, like you look like hell. Just slap a fucking filter on yourself so you don't look that crazy. Like thank God for Instagram filters, right? And it's like, just do the work. And like, who's meant to receive it is meant to receive it. And who's not is not. But I'm kind of like in a place in my life too with like people, because a lot of coaches will come to me to like learn what I know. And I'm like, dude, I can't teach you anything because you are too fucking pussy to show up and just do the work.
Exactly.
And like, they want to be like, oh, I have to do my pillars and my ideal client avatar and I have to know all this shit. It's like, no, you don't. You don't need to do any of that shit. You just fucking flip the goddamn camera on and just let God speak through you, and you will always have money, and you will always be wealthy, and people will always love you.
Exactly.
Period. Why do we overcomplicate everything?
I don't know.
It's the story of our fucking, because we love chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
Chaos. You know, there's a thing called chaos magic in like witchcraft. It's like you use the chaos that you know that is like your thing to like go to the next level.
Wow.
Yeah, we will get into that in another podcast. I actually don't like chaos magic because I'm like, I need to get out of this chaos.
Yeah, I've had enough. I've actually feel like lately, I'm like, wow, I'm so at peace and it feels really good. And whenever chaos starts to come up, I'm like, nope,
No.
Stay away.
You shield it.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm so excited for what's next for you. I'm so excited for the baby. I'm so excited for your move. I'm so excited for your new business. We're going to monetize the fuck out of this shit because you are doing God's work, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm so grateful that you've trusted me for so long to help you.
Oh, yeah.
And
you're like literally, I can't imagine a better coach for me.
Aw, thank you so much. So we will put all in the show notes, your podcast, all the different stuff, so everyone can check out the Mindset Mama, which is it's literally next level. And they can find you on all the places where they consume podcasts.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Any last parting words for the Ambitchious out there in Ambitchious land?
Yeah, just do the fucking work, man.
Thank you.
Like, it's crazy. I mean, so
it's
many
literally
people
that simple.
listen, but you just got to get out of the victim mentality and put your head down and start doing the work.
Absolutely. Yes, queen. Thank you so much for coming all the way.
Thank you so
and doing
much
this.
for having me. This is
next level.
Yes.
This is like full circle shit.
It is.
I love it. All right, guys. I hope that you enjoyed Kayla, because I know I did. And don't forget to stay ambitious. And I will see you next Tuesday.